Yeah, see, we really need to get into what we mean by inflation, and we need to distinguish between different things that might cause prices to increase, even sustained price increases. So Keynes had this definition, true inflation. True inflation only occurs when aggregate demand is too high. That is, where you've already fully employed your resources and you continue to increase spending. That is true inflation. And the way to fight that is by reducing aggregate demand. So that is when you need to raise taxes, cut government spending, or somehow get the private sector to stop spending. Maybe clamp down on banks so they can't lend, so people can't borrow and spend. Okay, that's how you fight that. Now, what happens if you have an oil price shock? Do you fight that by reducing demand? No, that would not make any sense. You have to find another method. Now, as Bill keeps alluding to, in the kinds of institutional arrangements we have in the United States, an oil price inflation is going to end itself very quickly because we don't have very much indexing of wages in our society or of government spending in our society that is going to cause an oil price shock to lead to a wage price spiral or something like that. But we could have those, and if we did, then the way to fight that is through institutional change, not by clamping down on aggregate demand. You want to change the institutions. Maybe centralized wage bargaining would be a way to do it, and figure out how you're going to share the costs of adjusting to higher oil prices. Okay? So we really need to identify why we got the inflation. If it's because the currency is depreciating, again, in the United States, this isn't very plausible. In a country like Mexico, they have very high feed-through impacts of currency depreciation into rising prices. So they've got to deal with that problem, something that we don't have to deal with. And then finally, what everyone is talking about is the current outlook, the current situation in the United States. You know, it's just about impossible to identify a way that we could get inflation going, even if we wanted to. And this is where Japan has been for a very long time. Okay, we have to remember that we just had 2 billion people come into the market economy, and they all want to produce stuff and sell it to us. And they're willing to work at very low wages, and their firms are willing to sell at very low prices. It's just not a plausible argument, even if we got closer to full employment, that we're going to get significant inflation pressures. Other than, yes, commodities prices could go up and we could have a very short-term increase of prices, which is what Bill was trying to get to. That's not inflation, but it is going to cause a redistribution of income.